Father smiling on me, the only name that matters to me.
Well, hello and welcome to day 5 in our series looking at the topic of devotion to God. In your home, do you have best crockery, best cutlery, or best glassware? When you come to our home, it is highly likely that you will be offered a cup of tea. As I see it, if Jesus had been incarnated into 21st century England instead of the 1st century Middle East, he would not have talked about washing people's feet when they come into your home, but he might have talked about making them a cup of tea. If you do come to our home and are offered a hot beverage of some kind, what we will then do is to bring out the best mugs. In our house in Northampton, we had one cupboard that contained the mugs that were for ordinary everyday use, and another cupboard in which we kept the best mugs that were set apart for visitors and guests. In our final session today, on the theme of being devoted to God, we are going to touch on the theme of holiness. And although I think there are lots of layers of meaning to the term holy, one way of thinking about holy is as something that is set apart and special and separate and for sacred use. In the Old Testament tabernacle and temple days, they had sacred set-apart utensils, sacred and set-apart cups and plates, and sacred set-apart furniture, all set in a sacred set-apart space. But of course, it was not only inanimate objects that were described as holy. It was a term that was applied to God in both the Old and New Testaments. In the heavenly vision of the Apostle John in the book of Revelation, creatures exclaim, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come." Another way of looking at or defining holiness is that of otherness, or of being wholly different, or of a different kind. Dr. John Oswalt, Distinguished Professor of Old Testament Theology at Asbury Theological Seminary in the US, states this: in the Old Testament world, holiness had virtually nothing to do with behaviour. It simply described the fact that the gods are other. But the Hebrew people discovered something. They discovered that there is only one being who is other. Only one being that can rightfully be called holy. And that is Yahweh, the great I am, and his character defines the character of holiness. But in both the book of Leviticus in the Old Testament and in the words of the Apostle Peter in the New Testament, people are also exhorted to live as holy. Peter, in what we call his first letter, writes, "But just as he who called you is holy, so be holy in all you do. For it is written, 'Be holy, because I am holy.'" I don't think this means that we are to geographically separate ourselves from the rest of the world or live in a cave or commune. I don't think this is asking us to quit our jobs and sign up for a convent or monastery. But I do think that this is a call to live in a way that is in some ways special, set apart, other, different, and devoted to God. I think Jesus embodies this wonderfully for us, seemingly quite at home with and enjoying the company of people, and yet very different in attitude and actions to both ordinary people, his team, and the mainstream religion of his day. Apart from anything else, I see Jesus as utterly and unequivocally him. I don't know what you think of when you think about the word holiness in relation to yourself. Perhaps you see it as an impossible goal, or perhaps you see it as something that would be undesirable for you or too restrictive. But rather than see it as restrictive, I think that there is something quite beautiful and freeing and useful about it. In his classic work on holiness, the 19th century Anglican bishop J.C. Ryle wrote this: "We must be holy because our present comfort depends much upon it. We cannot be too often reminded of this. We are sadly apt to forget that there is a close connection between sin and sorrow. Holiness and happiness. Sanctification and consolation. God has so wisely ordered it that our well-being and our well-doing are linked together." God is everything he is, and he is nothing that he is not. Perhaps as we become more holy, we become more and more the people we were designed to be, the people we are capable of being. We become closer to the best version of ourselves. Surely that is a good thing to strive for. May God help us all.
Yours will be the only name that matters to me, the only one whose favor I seek, the only name that matters to me. Yours is the name that has saved me, your mercy and grace, the power that forgave me, and your love is all I've ever needed. When I wake up in the land of glory with the saints, I will tell my story. There will be one name that I proclaim. When I wake up in the land of glory with the saints, I will tell my story. There will be one name that I proclaim. Jesus, Jesus.